Good afternoon, students. Today I am going to start chapter 14 of Science NCRT of Standard 6, that is water. Now let's see about water. We must know that water is our basic necessities to sustain our life. Students, suppose for some reason your family gets only one bucket of water every day for a week. Imagine what would happen. Would you be able to cook, clean utensils, wash clothes, or bath? What are the other activities you would not be able to do? What would happen if we do not have easy access to water for a long period of time? Apart from drinking, there are so many activities for which we use water. Do you have an idea about the quantity of water we use in a single day? So, children, how much water do we use? Let's see. Activity 1. List all the activities for which you use water in a day. Some activities are listed in table 14.1. Make a similar table in your notebook throughout the day. Measure the amount of water used for each activity by you and other family members. You may use a mug, a glass, a bucket, or any other container to measure the amount of water used. So, children, you know you now have a rough idea as to how much water your family used in a day. Can you estimate the amount of water used by you for personal cleanliness in a day? Using this information, calculate the amount of water needed by your family in a year. Now, divided this amount by the number of members of your family. This will give an idea of the amount of water needed by one member of your family in a year. Find the number of people that live in your village or town. Next page. You may now get an idea of the amount of water needed by your village or town in a year. Got it, children? Students, you have listed a number of activities for which we use water. Do you think our water requirement is limited to activities like these? We use wheat, rice, pulses, vegetables, and many other food items every day. We know that the some of the fibers that we use for making fabric come from plants. Is water not needed to grow these? Can you think of some more uses of water? Water is used in industries for producing almost all the things that we use. So we need water not only for our daily activities but also for producing many things. Got it, children? Now let's see that from where do we get water from. चलेगा. Where do you get the water that you use? Some of you may say we draw water from a river, a spring, pond, well, or a hand pump. Some other might say we get water from taps. Have you ever wondered where water in the taps come from? Water that we get from taps is also drawn from a lake or a river or a well. It is then supplied through a network of pipes. Okay, each of us may be getting water into our homes in different ways, but finally all of us get water from the same sources such as ponds, lakes, rivers, and wells. We have discussed some of the sources of water. Where does the water come from to fill these ponds, lakes, rivers, and wells? Next page. Do you know that about two-thirds of the earth is covered with water? Most of this water is in oceans and seas. The water in the oceans and seas has many salts dissolve in it. The water is saline, so it is not fit for drinking and other domestic, agricultural, and industrial needs. You might have heard the famous lines of the poem Rime of the Ancient Mariner, written by S.T. Coleridge in 1798. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. Here the poet has described the plight of sailors on a ship lost in the ocean. Yet, oceans play an important role in supplying the water that we use. Do you find this surprising? After all, the water that we use is not only salty, many of us live in places far away from the oceans. Does the water supply in these places also depend on the oceans? How does the ocean water reach ponds, lakes, rivers, and wells which supply us water? How come the water from these sources is not saline anymore? That is where the water cycle comes in. So students, let's see about water cycle. Children, what is water cycle? Disappearing trick of water. How many times have you noticed that water spilled on a floor dries up after some time? The water seems to disappear. Similarly, water disappears from wet cloths and they dry up. Water from wet roads, rooftops, and a few other places also disappears after the rains. Where does this water go? Do you remember activity 6 in chapter 5 in which water with salt dissolved in it was heated? What did we find? The water evaporated and the salt was left behind. This activity gives us an idea that on heating, water changes into its vapor. We also realize from this activity that water vapor does not carry away the salt with it. Water vapor formed become a part of the air and cannot usually be seen. We also found that heating is essential to convert water into its vapor. However, we have seen that water changes into its vapor also from the fields, roads, rooftops, and other land areas. We also discussed in chapter 5 that to obtain salt water from the sea is left in shallow pits to let the water evaporate. From where does this water get the heat it needs to evaporate? Let us find out. So, students, activity 2, do with yourself. Now, let's see about loss of water by plants. You have learnt in chapter 7 that plants need water to grow. Plant use a part of this water is to prepare their food and change the page. Retain some of it in their different parts. Remaining part of this water is released by the plants into air as water vapor through the process of transpiration. Do you remember observing transpiration of water by plants in activity 4 in chapter 7? Water vapor enters the air through the process of evaporation and transpiration. Is it lost forever? No. We get it back again, as we will see. Now next, we'll see in next lecture. Okay. Thank you very much. Take care.